Are we ready? Press that button. Okay. Good afternoon, trustees, staff, and members of the public who are joining our September 9th, 2025 Policy and Bylaw Standing Committee meeting. This meeting is called to order. We're very happy to have friends and other trustees joining us. We have Trustee Ron Lin joining us, and also student trustees Hayden Lay joining us as well. And online, we also have Trustee McCarthy joining, and the rest are our policy member trustees. Moving on is the land acknowledgement. I'd like to, this time to invite Trustee Mahmood to deliver the land acknowledgement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We affirm that we are all treaty people and acknowledge that the York Region District School Board is located on the lands of two treaties. These treaties have been signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the First Nation of the Williams Treaties, who are the Mississaugas of Aldervale, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Schuylkill Island, and the Chippewas of the Brosele, Rama, and Georgina Island, who is our closest neighbor and partner in education. To honor this agreement, we will take up our responsibility to be respectful of their traditions, knowledge, and inherent rights as sovereign nations. We will respect their relationship with these lands and recognize that our connection to this land is through the continued relationship with these First Nations, and we acknowledge our shared responsibilities to respect and care for the land and the waters for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Mahmood. And my apology, I also like to recognize Trustee Butterworth for joining us this afternoon. Without objection, the agenda as presented shall be adopted. Is there any objections, Trustee? Okay. Without objection, the agenda is adopted. Declaration of conflict of interest. At this time, the chair would like ask any trustee who has a direct personal interest or direct or indirect pecuniary interest in any matters being discussed by the board during this meeting to state the conflict in nature thereof. Okay, seeing, hearing none. Approval of minutes of previous meetings. The minutes of the June 17th, 2025 Policy and Bylaw Standing Committee meetings have been distributed to all trustees. Are there any corrections to the minutes? As there are no corrections, the minutes are approved as presented. Director's remark. Now I would like to recognize Director Kober to provide his remarks. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Firstly, I would like to welcome back everyone and welcome to the first policy meeting of the 2025-2026 school year. We have 4 policies for you this evening. For first review, Policy 105 on communications and Policy 610, reporting children and youth in need of protection. And then second review, continuing to work through Policy 204, filling a trustee vacancy, and Policy 366, supervise alternative learning. And we look forward to the discussion, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Kober. Delegations. There are no community delegations before the committee this afternoon. We're moving into the policies for first review. We'll first start with Policy 105, communications. I would like to recognize Policy Officer Daniel Roberto to share the policy for first review. Daniel?
Thank you, Chair Chen. Good afternoon, trustees. Today we have Executive Officer Corporate Communications Lucinio Miguelo to share updates to policy number 105, communications. This policy is due for first review and was last reviewed in 2020. This policy addresses the board's commitment to maintaining open lines of communications with internal and external stakeholders. This policy aligns with the board's multi-year strategic plan by fostering healthy environments and positive collaborative relationships among students, staff, families, and community members. It also encourages the active engagement of all stakeholders, which include students, staff, families, and community members in public education. This policy emphasizes the importance of demonstrating professionalism and accountability to uphold high standards of practice across all board operations. We collaborated with staff to review and update the policy statement to align with board priorities, As part of this process, the Education Act was reviewed and no updates relevant to this policy were identified. In terms of next steps, if approved by the committee this evening, the policy will be posted as a working document for 6 school months to gather public feedback. And I'll turn it over to Lucinio for any additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really don't have much to add to that, given that we are not suggesting significant updates to this policy. The only thing I would add is that this really is a high-level philosophical statement from the Board of Trustees about expectations on communications, and ultimately that expectation that all of our communications are advancing and pursuing the inspiration of confidence in public education in our interactions with our publics and internally. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair. Happy to take any comments or questions.
Thank you, staff, for the information. So members, I would like to remind everyone that the question must be germane to the policy. Are there any questions to this policy review? Trustee Butterworth, you may start.
Thank you very much. I like the point that you said that this is in line with our multi-year strategic plan and anything coming from the ministry. Lately, we've heard from the ministry that, boards in general need to improve their communication and so on. Has that been looked at, in terms of, I think we have amazing communication, but is that something, are we looking at it through that lens because we're hearing about that from the ministry, like in the press? Just comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Butterworth, and through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for those comments. What I would suggest is that what we've received from the ministry has been more procedural in nature around timelines and communication, so the 48-hour recognition and the 5 days to provide a response and exceptions to that. This policy is a little bit different. It's more high level, and it's more about that philosophical approach and how we communicate and less on the procedural. Certainly, staff have taken a look at those requirements and the PPMs from the ministry. Those continue to be in place and relevant.
Thank you. Are there any other trustee that has questions? Okay. So without objection, the recommended motion shall be adopted, that in accordance with Board Policy 285, Board Policies, Procedures, and Supporting Documents, Policy 105 communication will be circulated for comments for 6 school months. Okay, so without objection, the aforementioned motion is adopted. Moving forward, going into Policy 610, Reporting Children and Youth in Needs of Protection. I would like to once again ask Policy Officer Daniel to lead us into this discussion. Daniel?
Thank you, Chair Chen. Joining us today to provide updates to policy number 610, reporting children and youth in need of protection, is Coordinating Superintendent of Student Services and Wellbeing, Wendy Howes. And this policy is due before the committee for first review and was last reviewed in 2023. This policy and procedure outlines the board's responsibility under the Child, Youth, and Family Services Act. It outlines the duties and responsibilities of staff and volunteers to report any concerns related to protecting the safety and well-being of children and youth. In these ways, this policy relates to the multi-year strategic plan by supporting student achievement and well-being. This policy applies to board staff and volunteers. And in this process, we collaborated with staff to review and update the responsibilities and application sections of the policy and its related procedure. As part of this process, the Child, Youth, and Family Services Act was reviewed. And as you can see, changes to the policy pertain to the definition of child protection concerns, which was revised to reflect the different types of concerns that may exist. For example, intimate partner violence and sexual abuse, which also includes sex trafficking. In terms of next steps, if approved by the committee this evening, the policy will be posted as a working document for 6 school months to gather public feedback. It may also be shared directly with identified stakeholders for targeted consultation. At this point, I will turn it over to Wendy for any additional comments. Thanks.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I am wanting to highlight additionally how proud we are of the partnerships that we have with our 3 major child protection agencies, Newigmog, Benujiag, Jewish Family and Child Services, and York Region Children's Aid Services. And so as part of our work in preparing to update this policy, we made sure our consultation with them was in line with the updates that they have to their reporting processes. And then this helped to inform our compliance training that is mandatory for all staff that will be happening on September 26th this year. So I do not have anything else to add, but I would be happy to take any questions or comments.
Thank you, staff. Trustees, are there any questions relating to this? Trustee Cohen, yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. I was wondering, under application, the difference, we have A and B. So A is they must report in instances where they have a child protection concern for a child or youth under 16 years of age. So the word that is used there is they must. Then in B, we have they may report in instances where they have a child protection concern for a child 16 and 17 years of age. So I was wondering why we wouldn't just use must if they are our students, and if there's a serious concern like even child trafficking, as we just heard about, why don't we put must in both cases? Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cohen, and through you, Chair. It's an excellent question, and it's actually related to the Child, Youth, and Family Services Act and the actual legislation. So because of the partnerships that we have with our three main child youth protection agencies, we do call and consult, but it is not a legislated requirement at the age of 16 or 17 based on that legislation. So that's the reason for the nuance. We're promoting the consultation with those youth protection agencies for best practices and to ensure that we're making sure that we don't miss any additional considerations.
So does that mean we do, but we don't put it in writing that we must?
The wording here is in alignment with the legislation. So yes, that's why we make that distinction, so that we're in alignment with the legislation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Trustee Cohen. Anyone else has a question? Trustee Mahmood, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's just in the same line. So there's a red line in section 2 where application is, right? We're saying in all cases, staff and volunteers are encouraged to consult with the child protection agencies. Again, we're saying encourage, which means that we're leaving their discretion, right? Why the language is not a little bit more kind of applying to them, right? Is it the same reason? Or?
Yeah, no, thank you, Trustee Mahmood, and through you, Chair. One of the things that we're trying to highlight in this process is making sure that we're aware of some of the bias that we might have of what might be a concern, and not understanding all of the components of a family's cultural beliefs, background, and lived experiences. And so that piece right there, staff and volunteers are encouraged to consult with when they're not sure whether this is a requirement under the legislation to report. The call goes to consult and say, yes, this is an area of concern, or this isn't an area of concern from a child protection perspective, but there are supports that we can put in through community agencies and other ways that we can provide support to this family who might be experiencing some challenges that have been identified from the school perspective.
Thank you, Trustee Mahmood. Anyone else? Okay, Trustee Cohen, for your second question, please go ahead.
Thank you. This is just a little one. In 610.1, what is the meaning of intimate partner violence? How does that differ from partner violence?
Thank you, Trustee Cohen, and through you, I'm actually came prepared with the actual definition. So intimate partner violence or adult is behavior within an intimate relationship that causes physical, psychological, or sexual harm to those in a relationship. Types of exposure to intimate partner violence that children may experience, witnessing, hearing, observing, aftermath, being aware of tension in the home. That whole idea of walking on eggshells is the definition that is provided.
So the word intimate, as opposed to,
Between partners in a relationship, parents, common law. That's the intimate relationship.
so, okay, what if it was the boyfriend,
Intimate relationships. So any sort of relationship,
even the,
yeah.
okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Do we have any other trustee who would like to seek further clarifications? Okay, Trustee Law, please go ahead.
Thank you. On the applications, there are a number of procedures that go along with that. Are they going to be all revised at the same time also? Like the sharing, data sharing, notice the request to register childcare and whatnot. So they are under procedures. Would they be all revised at the same time?
Thank you, Trustee Law. Yes, that would be the practice. I believe that there are some updates that already are reflected. If there are any that you have noticed that are not reflected, we would appreciate that feedback.
Trustee Lin, please go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a quick one. Did I hear that from staff that we are going to have provide training September 26th? Is that a PA Day activity? I just want to know it for myself, because over the past few years, like some trustee, myself included, could receive some kind of calls that is dealing with the parents receive a call directly from the CAS. They're expecting a phone call from the school, but eventually, because it was reported, and then the communication part caused some anxiety to the parents. So I am hoping that through this professional development that we can continue to uphold that strong communication protocol following the procedure. That is some of the general feedback that I have over the past few years.
Thank you, Trustee Lennon, through you, Chair. Yes, that's exactly what you heard. Every year annually, we do some training and compliance training to make sure that all staff that are working in our buildings, regardless of their role, are aware of their duty to report and the procedure in which to do that, as well as the supports that are available should they have questions. For example, our Chief of Social Work and Attendance Services who would be available, or their school social worker that could provide additional context. But that is the intention, to make sure that everybody's aware of how we uphold the legislation and relationships with families.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions? No? Okay. So in this case, without objection, the recommended motion shall be adopted, that in accordance to Board Policy 285, Board Policies, Procedures, and Supporting Documents, Policy 610, Reporting Children and Youth in Need of Protection, will be circulated for comment for 6 school month. So without objection, the aforementioned motion is adopted. Thank you, trustees. We're moving into policies for second review. Policy 204, filling a trustee vacancy. I would like to once again recognize Policy Officer Daniel Roberto to share the policy for second review. Daniel?
Thank you, Chair Chen. And through the chair, joining us to share updates to policy number 204, filling a trustee vacancy, is Comptroller, Corporate and Legal Affairs Jeff Fair, Manager Trustee Services Audrey Ballard, fellow Trustee Services and Policy Officer Alden Torres, and myself, Daniel Roberto. This policy was last reviewed in 2024 and is now due for second review. We have not received feedback from the public regarding this policy since it was posted for public comment for 6 school months. This policy and procedure was developed in accordance with the Education Act, the Municipal Elections Act, and the Board Operational Bylaw, and governs the process to be followed by the Board of Trustees if a vacancy occurs during their term. The filling a trustee vacancy policy and procedure supports the stewardship of board resources and outlines how trustees are supported in fulfilling their legislative duties to promote student and staff success and well-being. It also ensures that the process for filling a vacancy is transparent, equitable, and aligned with democratic principles, allowing the board to continue delivering effective and sustainable educational programs. And this policy and procedure provides guidance on whether the vacancy should be filled by appointment or by election, depending on timing, and outlines the roles and responsibilities of board staff in managing the process. For this second review, as you can see, we reviewed and updated the procedure, focusing on section 2.2, called Majority of Elected Members Remain in Office, as well as section 3.2, Candidate Presentation Process. In particular, we revised the presentation format so that instead of each trustee having 90 seconds for questions and answers, there's now an opportunity for a question period lasting a total of 5 minutes, during which trustee members may ask the candidates questions of clarification. We also reviewed the Education Act and the Municipal Elections Act to ensure alignment with the legislation, and clarified section 2.2 to reflect legislative requirements more accurately. In terms of next steps, if the committee approves this policy, it will proceed to the board meeting on October 7th, 2025 for final approval. And I'll pass it over to Jeff, Audrey, and Alden for any additional comments. Thanks.
Thanks, Daniel, for that excellent summary of all the work that's taken place since the first review. I don't have anything to add to Daniel's summary, but happy to answer any questions from trustees.
Thank you. So once again, trustee, if you have any question, you can raise your hand. Here, I would like to first recognize Trustee McCarthy online to ask her first question. Trustee McCarthy, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chair Chen.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. And I just have two quick questions. The first one is regarding the appointment. I can see that the candidate is meant to submit their resume to the director. So I just wanted to clarify that there's going to be no need for a third party to facilitate us in this quest of finding a new trustee, if that would ever be the case. That's part one of the question. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Trustee McCarthy. And there would be no need, based on this policy and procedure, to hire a third party. Everything would be completed internally, utilizing the services of trustee services, as well as the director's office. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. That's what I thought. Just want to clarify that. And then secondly, if it's okay, I just wanted to ask regarding the 5 minutes. I read it as each trustee would have 5 minutes for questions, but now it sounds like in total it will be a 5-minute questioning period. Can I get some clarification on that, please?
Thanks again for the question, Trustee McCarthy. The total amount of time for the question period would be 5 minutes. This aligns with the process used for delegations and keeps in mind that if we have a number of applicants for a vacant trustee position, a question period for, let's just say, 5 applicants, if every trustee was able to ask questions for a period of 5 minutes, the process could go on for several hours. And as well, thought was given to fairness for the applicants when it comes to the number of questions they can be asked within a set period of time. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you. I understand all of that, but my quick math says that works out to about 39 seconds per question for if each trustee just gets one question. I just think if we're going to make such a serious decision, maybe we need a little more time than 5 minutes with each applicant. That would be my thought. I don't know if anyone shares that, but thank you for the clarity, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Trustee McCarthy. I will now recognize Trustee Butterworth for your question.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I concur with Trustee McCarthy. I'm thinking 5 minutes in total when there are 13 of us, well, I guess we're at less than that because we're looking for a trustee, so however many, plus, say student trustees, like 5 minutes to me to make a serious question who's going to be part of our team, I think 5 minutes is not enough. If you look at that, and I mean, a lot of times our questions overlap. So, I know Trustee Cohen and I always laugh at each other because we seem to have the same questions. So if I knew that Trustee Cohen was asking a question and that was mine, obviously I'm not going to ask it. So I don't think 5 minutes is enough, in my opinion. Thank you.
Trustee Cohen, please go ahead.
I just like to third that comment. I had the same question written that Trustee McCarthy mentioned. I think 5 minutes is a little too short. We have to remember that not everybody asks questions to every candidate or, on every issue. So I think if we could enlarge that a little, it would be more realistic. Personally, I agree with the others. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cohen. Okay, Trustee Kolosowski, please go ahead.
I have two points. The first one is I'd throw my support behind the last two comments, and a possible idea that I would suggest is maybe looking at allocating the time not collectively, but rather per trustee. So let's say 1 minute per trustee, for example. That's something I think we should look at. And secondly, my question is, and please correct me if I missed it, but do we have a timeline in the policy for how quickly we announce the vacancy and how that vacancy is to be communicated?
Thank you, and I'll answer the second part to the question. Section 2.2 speaks to the process for a trustee vacancy. Section A speaks to appointing a qualified person to fill a vacancy within 90 days of the vacancy. Once a vacancy occurs, trustee services and communications quickly works together to strategize a communications plan that would be shared with the media. That's always happened and is always in place. And Section B of 2.2 speaks to the process for calling a by-election instead of appointing a qualified person to fill a vacancy.
Thank you. I'd like to now recognize Trustee Lin. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I concur with my colleagues. I just have one more question. Over the recent years, are we able to have a general jurisdiction scan on how our neighboring board is doing appointment? Although we have not had one appointment in the York region for a while, but having said that, I agree fully with my colleagues say that we are feeling an important position to work alongside the board. Same time being, how are we doing with the other neighboring board? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Lin. I'd like to recognize Trustee Sinclair.
Oops. Can you hear me now? Good.
Oh, you know why? She's on Melanie's.
I'm at Melanie's. Today I'm Melanie. I concur with my fellow colleagues. However, we have to be mindful of how much time we're going to add, because if it's 20 candidates applying for, because you know how people love and want to be a trustee, applying for the job, 5 minutes each, we're here all evening. So we still have to be reasonable, even though we want more time. 5 minutes is not enough for all of us, but we still need to be mindful of the length of time that it could take to question each candidate. So when the staff is looking at that, please take that into consideration so that we're not here all evening questioning people. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sinclair. So it looks like, oh, sorry. I would like to now recognize Trustee Cohen for your second question.
Thank you, Chair. In relation to that concept that Dr. Sinclair just mentioned, I believe we usually don't interview all of the people who apply. We usually cut down to a certain number, reasonable number. Is that correct or not? If we do cut them down, if if we had 30 people apply, we wouldn't normally interview 30 people, I'm assuming. We would perhaps look at the resumes and decide that 10 would be good candidates. So if there were 10, I don't think that, it would be a problem if we had more time to interview each one. Just clarification. Is there a number? Do we have a number that we, not really? Well, when we were interviewing for the director, we cut down, right? Well, I don't know. Do we have senior staff, any input?
Yes, I'd like to have Trustee Sinclair. Yes, I would like to let Jeff to answer Trustee Cohen's question. And if you have a question, you can also put it as a question, so we can keep our conversation in good order. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, based on feedback from trustees, staff are happy to take this away and return to PBSC. We'll complete a jurisdictional scan and come up with some different options for trustees around the question period. To Trustee Sinclair's point, and the point I made at the outset, thought was given to ensuring that we're not here for 3 hours during an interview process, and as well ensuring some type of fairness to candidates who admittedly will be nervous and trying to avoid them feeling like they're being pestered with questions. So, but again, we'll take that away and come back with a different approach based on the feedback from trustees. And within the policy itself, it doesn't speak to any type of filter process, if we will, to cut down the number of candidates. So at this point, based on the policy and procedure, all of those who apply would receive an interview. Staff will take that away and come up with some different options for consideration as well for trustees.
I would like to give time to Audrey to provide further clarifications. Please go ahead.
In item 3 of the appointment process, people that apply for the vacancy have to be qualified under Section 219 of the Education Act. And if they are qualified under those stipulations, applicants will present at a special board meeting. So they have to, like in an election, they have to have the qualifications, which is over 18, a Canadian citizen, the ones that are in the Act, and then they are all allowed to present.
Is that something we could look at? Because if we had 100 candidates, does that mean we have to interview them all?
Sorry.
Like in any job interviews I've been involved with through my educational experience, we had excellent teachers or, applying for positions, but we still were able, and they were all qualified, but of course we were able to decide which ones were, our choice, top of the line, let's say, and then we interviewed them. Even with supply teachers, I know that we interview the ones that, we were, I don't know. Am I right?
You can't do that, it's democracy.
Director Colbert, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Trustee Cohen, thank you for the feedback. The differentiation of this process is in regards to a political appointment process, and so it's a very, very public setting, whereas in a human resources process, employers have employment standards that they must follow. So this is a little bit differentiated from that. So as Ms. Ballard provided the Education Act language, the transparency in the public of providing all candidates the equal opportunity would afford the trustees the appropriate support of their upholding their democratic process. I think enhancing the time period that you've highlighted here this evening for staff to take that back to make sure that it is fulsome and that trustees get a fulsome opportunity for the discussion. If this comes forward and we have to have a room full of candidates, we'll have to make sure we set enough time aside and schedule appropriately. But I think in the fulsome of transparency, giving the candidates the opportunity would be critically important in a public process for a public board appointment process. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Kober, for the clarifications. Here, I know that Trustee McCarthy, she has her second question. Trustee McCarthy, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chair. And I appreciate all of the clarification, and I agree with most of it. I just wanted to reiterate that if there is an exorbitant amount of candidates, perhaps we could split it over a couple, two sets of interviews, 2 days in a row, just a suggestion. And I just wanted to add that and I do understand that it is a public meeting, so it's not going to be a private meeting, which will probably add to the nervousness, and I do understand that, but it's a better deal than having to knock on how many hundreds of doors when you're actually running to be a candidate. So I think wouldn't be so terrible to have to do a little interview in the public for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And if it's really that we have that many candidates, then perhaps we could put it over a couple of days. But I do think it is imperative, and I recognize that you've already acknowledged that you do think that's valuable and you're going to take it back and look at it. But just wanted to reiterate that it's a pretty important decision, and I think it's very important that we have proper information. And if it takes us a little longer to get proper information, then that's the way it has to be. So that's my my conclusion on that. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Trustee McCarthy.
Thank you,
Kober?
Trustee Chair.
Sorry, Dr. Sinclair. Director Kober has something to respond.
Yes, I can respond through you to Trustee McCarthy. Thank you very much for the feedback in regards to the timing of the meeting. It is scheduled to be a special meeting of the board, so we would have to take into consideration the amount of candidates we have and determining the appropriate amount of time per candidate. Once we get through that part of the process, then we would be able to work through the detail of the special meeting of the board and providing the appropriate time. I think it would be very difficult in policy to put in specifics around a 2-day process for the special meeting of the board. I think we would just go ahead with the special meeting of the board language and then proceed from there. I hope, Trustee McCarthy, that answers your question in regard to this.
Thank you, Director. Trustee McCarthy, do you have any things to respond before I move forward?
No, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That's it for me.
Thank you, Trustee McCarthy, for your question. I'd like to now recognize Trustee Sinclair. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Trustee Chan. I'd like to remind us of the democratic process, and we can't take away people's democratic rights. If they fit the criteria, they have every right to present. Talk to Pierre Polliet, who had nearly 91 people who ran with him. They were all entitled to run for the election. So we cannot start setting ourselves up to cut people off and only let so many people. That it'll be totally undemocratic, and that's not what Canada is all about. So if we have to, as Trustee McCarthy says, do 2 days, we do 2 days. Because I know how wonderful York Region District School Board trustees meetings are, and when we have vacancies, a number of people always want to come and join us because they think we're so great. So we shouldn't stop anybody from wanting to become a member of our board. So let's not go down that road of trying to cut people from their democratic right. We'll be setting ourselves up for lawsuits.
Thank you, Trustee Sinclair, for your input. I know that Student Trustee Lay has a question. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to start off by saying that I agree that 5 minutes may not necessarily be enough. And I want to add on to what Trustee Sinclair and Trustee McCarthy said by agreeing on the 2 days. I agree, and I believe that this, like the position of a trustee is so important that it warrants us being here for longer or or necessitating us asking more questions, even if it means that we're here all evening or here for a longer time. I also wanted to ask a question for clarification on section 3.2 C, where it says trustees will be given the opportunity to ask one question within the total question period of 5 minutes before additional questions are permitted. I remember Comptroller Fair saying that the spirit is to have fairness with all these questions, but is there additional clarification on the additional questions given? Because if the spirit of having one question each is for fairness, should there not be more guidelines on what is meant by additional questions that are being permitted?
Jeff, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure if that's a question or a comment, but we'll take it under advisement when we take this away. Thank you.
Thank you. Hayden, do you have further things to say?
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I sense that we have a desire to revise this policy. So here I would like to just say that we are going to seek a unanimous consent to request change to be made and schedule the policy for ongoing second review. Is there any objection to that decision, trustees? Okay, so without objection, since there is no objection, the committee has requested change to be made and schedule the policy for ongoing second review. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to our next policy for second review. Policy 366, supervised alternative learning. Now I'd like to once again recognize Policy Officer Daniel Roberto to share the detail. Daniel?
Thank you, Chair Chen. And through the chair, joining us today to share updates to policy number 366, supervised alternative learning, is Coordinating Superintendent of Education, Curriculum and Instructional Services and Continuing Education, Jillian Gibbons. And this policy is due for second review and was last reviewed in 2024. We have not received feedback from the public regarding this policy since it was posted for public comment for 6 school months. The York Region District School Board is committed to supporting students whose secondary school graduation and/or well-being is at risk by providing students with the opportunity to explore programming options and resources outside of a traditional school setting. The purpose of supervised alternative learning is to provide students who have significant difficulties with regular attendance at school with an alternative learning experience and individualized plan to enable the student to progress towards obtaining an Ontario secondary school diploma or achieving their other educational and life goals. Supervised alternative learning only applies to students who are at least 14 years old and are of compulsory school age. This policy and procedure is related to the board's multi-year strategic plan, specifically student achievement, health and well-being, and human rights and inclusive education. This policy and the program is committed to ensuring practices value and promote student mental and physical well-being, providing access to differentiated and relevant learning opportunities, resources and programs that reflect our students and communities, and that engage all students as active partners in their learning. For this stage of the process, we collaborated with staff to review and update the responsibilities and application sections of the policy as well as the procedure. As part of this process, the Education Act was reviewed and no updates relevant to this policy were identified. As you can see, key revisions to the procedures or the policy include clarifying the responsibilities of principals. The proposed revisions were developed in collaboration with Student Services, Curriculum and Instructional Services, and Trustee Services, ensuring the policy is clear, compliant, and technically sound. Input from senior leadership has also been incorporated to align the policy with board priorities and ensure practical implementation. In terms of next steps, if the committee approves the policy this evening, it will proceed to the board meeting on October 7th, 2025 for final approval. And at this point, I will pass it over to Jillian for any additional comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Daniel. And so that was quite comprehensive. Just this particular policy is particularly embedded in the Education Act and legislation in the Education Act. So most of the alignments that were done were just to make sure that it was in, continued to be in alignment with the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, staff. Trustees, do you have any questions germane to the policy? Please raise your hand so I can recognize you. Okay. First, I would like to recognize Trustee McCarthy online. Trustee McCarthy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Chen, and thank you for that overview. I like this policy a lot, so thank you for that, and I think it's very valuable. And I just would like a clarification. Who has the final say of what classifies as an appropriate amount of work for credit? You don't have to give me the tiny details. I just want to know, is it a superintendent that gives the final stamp? Who oversees it? Although I do love the policy, I just am a little bit worried that it's going to be misused. So who is overseeing that to make sure that it's not being misused? Thank you very much, through you, Chair.
Is that a governance question or implementation question?
Staff, please.
So thank you for the question. In this case, there is a child is recommended to SAL from the school, and the school has a person on site who would work closely with a regional SAL teacher who would determine what the work was and whether that work that was completed met a credit. In some cases, they may go out to work and they may not get credits through that, but they may challenge for credits at a later date. So it's determined really by the teachers would make a recommendation and credits are granted by the administration based on input from the teacher.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to recognize Trustee Sinclair for her question. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm sorry to Chris. I'm messing you guys up because I'm sitting in Melanie's seat and you're looking for Elizabeth Sinclair. Sorry about that. But sometimes it's good to keep on your toes. My thing is, we have a SAL committee now, and if any member of the team is here, or trustees here, what's the difference in what we're proposing to what we're doing now? If there's any significant changes?
Sorry, thank you for the question. No, there are no significant changes from what happened before. We put in at the first stage, when it was brought forward the first time, we had just changed some alignment to match the number of days before, when a SAL committee had to meet. So we just put it in writing that the 20 days and the 5 days for meeting and for notification of families, which is part of the Education Act, and we just didn't have it in the policy. So there's no changes to the policy itself. It was more clarity on the first end, and since then we've had no feedback. So there has been no changes since this was brought forward before.
Sorry. Can I follow up? Okay. So we're looking at the same thing.
Yes, so it was brought forward for first reading, and then it was sent out for feedback, and we have now done that feedback cycle, and so we are bringing it forward. So if there had been suggestions, we would have, where we had to make modifications, then we would have brought that forward at this time, but there was no feedback that needed to be incorporated. It was all addressed in the first round.
So who is the trustee on that committee? Because it says here, committee will include at least one trustee, one area superintendent. Which trustee is that?
Sorry, I misunderstood the question. I'm not positive who the rep is. One of the things of note, though, is the SAL committee is only used for dispute resolution, and it's only invoked when necessary. So that's a situation where a parent and the school are out of alignment in their decision about supporting a child with SAL. And so we have actually never had that situation. All of our families have been, when we have chosen to recommend a child for SAL, and when a child has been in the SAL program, the parents have always been in agreement. And there is a process at the local level, at the school level, for when a child, the SAL program would end, and when a child might ask to return to school or the family. And we have never had a situation where we have been in disagreement with the family. And so while there is a SAL committee as per the legislation, we have never actually ever had to call it. And so I'm not, there may be someone who's written on paper, but you're right, they may not even realize anymore, because we have never actually had to do this, which is a lovely state to be in.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing that we've never had to? Because I have to be honest, it's the first I'm hearing a trustee sitting on SAL. Because I didn't realize that we sat on SAL. I thought that was implementation, you guys, okay. Just like if we're supposed to be there, then somebody should be there. Or at least that should be one of the things that we get nominated for at the, when we have our organizational meeting. But I've never seen that. So that is something else, Mr. Chairman, Lynn, you might want to consider.
I believe Director Colbert has a response for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is a technical response that I think will satisfy Trustee Sinclair's questions in regards to this. But to share with, I'm going to ask Audrey to contribute here, because all trustees actually have the opportunity if needed, and I'll let Audrey share.
As per the regulation, all trustees are members of the Supervised Alternative Learning Committee, but since we've not had one, they're all available to be members, but I think there's only one that's called for a committee meeting. Like if they call one person, they have 12 or 13 trustees to call to see.
All 12 of us are on it?
Everybody is on it, but I think that in the legislation, there's only, like if they have a meeting, I think one trustee has to attend. It's whoever is available, like they would call. It's not like a regular committee, but they're all.
I've been around for 8 years.
If I can contribute, Mr. Chair.
Please go ahead.
It's something new to me.
It's, if I can contribute, it's only in a dispute resolution matter. And so in your 8 years, fortunately, you haven't been called upon because there hasn't been a dispute resolution matter. And so as a result, it hasn't had to be activated. Should it have to be activated, all trustees are available to be called upon it, especially if it is in their jurisdiction. And then there is backup if they are not available. If it's a daytime decision and someone's not available, then you're able to go to an alternative. Therefore, all trustees are available as per the regulation. And so I'm pleased to hear that in your 8-year journey.
So I hear you. So can we put that somewhere then in the policy that states that?
It's also on the trustee committee of optional committees. It's on there. And it states that you're all on it, that all are.
I know we're over time on Trustee Sinclair's turn. I'd like to bring this to Trustee Butterworth, and if you have a second question, you may continue ahead.
I was just
Please go
going
ahead.
to suggest then, because it is kind of confusing, can we clear up the language a bit on the policy page? If it's a dispute resolution committee, can we change that and put that in the title, Supervised Alternative Learning Committee for, whatever? I'm just saying, because I understand the confusion here. So just a suggestion to maybe make that language a bit more clear. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I may, I think what we can do is put the regulation in this policy because it's stated in the regulation. So if we can just in the policy, put the OREG 374-10 in the policy because it's outlined in the regulation. And I think that's the cleanest and clearest way to do this. And then it covers everything that Dr. Sinclair has brought up and we've had a discussion about here. I think that will meet the criteria for what we're looking to do that Dr. Sinclair is talking about. Just listing the regulation as per the regulation. Thank you.
Because nobody will know what as per means. Like intimate partner.
Thank you, Director Kober, for the response. I'm very pleased. Trustee, I see that Trustee Lin has a question.
I want to just thank you for Dr. Sinclair's questions. This is a committee appointment governance question, which is the right question, and I'm just looking at the public page that Trustee Butterworth have alerted that under the Supervised Alternative Learning Committee, it say all trustees are members of Supervised Alternate Learning Committee, and one trustee must be present when required. As I share that privileged experience with Dr. Sinclair, that over the past 8 years, we do not have this kind of dispute resolution. Granted that that clarification that Dr. Sinclair require is a good ask. I just want to make sure I put that comment, and that is we are in full compliance, but that clarification is good to have for public if this become materialized or need to be implemented under the SAL committee. So I just want to give that. It's not a question. I'm just sharing that as from a governance perspective on that committee membership.
Thank you, Trustee Lin.
Can I, sorry?
Yes,
Can I- just from a-
Jillian, please go ahead.
Sorry, just a clarification on page 4, under the policy 4.3, there is a paragraph related to the Supervised Alternative Learning Committee, and within that it states the committee will support situations through problem-solving resources supports where there is no agreement about the SAL application and the SAL learning program. So if I were to just look at that for possible supports, I think that would tighten it. Is that sufficient?
Okay, thank you, Jillian, for the clarifications. I see that Trustee McCarthy's name is on the question list. Was that legacy hands, or you have a second question? Trustee McCarthy, you there?
Yeah, Chair, sorry for that. I'll take my hand down, sorry.
Okay, all right, so that was a legacy hand. That's fine. Okay, so thank you, and thank you all trustees for your inputs. Oh, I have Trustee Cohen for your second question. Okay, please go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. Just the wording here, I'm a little confused. This program is for students who are struggling to attend school consistently. When we say they're struggling, does that mean they don't want to attend school consistently, or why are they struggling? What are our most common reasons for children struggling? I understand the last part, or engage with the regular school day program, day school program. So what's the difference between a child who just doesn't want to come to school and doesn't show up, or a child who is struggling? Thank you.
So thank you for the question. There's lots of reasons why a child might not be attending regularly. I would say struggling means that they're trying to, would like to, but sometimes education isn't the right fit for them at that moment. They may have responsibilities outside of school that they need to take care of. Schooling they may find right now isn't a good fit the way it's structured, and so they would prefer to be out and working for a little while and deciding what they really want to focus on and come back to school at a later date. There's a number of reasons why a child might not be able to attend at that time, and SAL is really designed to support that child in their journey. with the end goal of re-engaging them in some type of education that will help them with their further employment and their further educational goals as they grow up and figure out just where they want to be in the future.
Thank you. I think it's a wonderful program. I'm just wondering how many students would be taking this program per year, would go through the SAL program? Thank you.
Yes, so thank you for the question. The number of students that are enrolled in this past year was 120, and that is about the number we would have total year to year. It's gone up slightly in the last couple of years, but like by 3 or 4.
Thank you, Trustee Cohen, and thank you, Jillian. So Trustee Law, please go ahead.
I just a different question. I noticed this particular procedure is talked about a lot about what happened after students referred to the program, but it didn't highlight how the student got referred to the program or have access by parents who see this program as a way for their child to complete the education. Should this procedure include that type of information, or like maybe you can share something light on that? Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. There is a process through the school where they would look at students who have attendance struggles, and the school itself would look at options. And there's a number of options that we would put in place first to try and keep them in class to try and get credits. But if it's determined that at this point there is a better fit through the SAL program, then that conversation would happen with the parent, and there would be a discussion with the student and the parent at that time, and that's run through the student success team at each school.
Thank you. Would the parents generally know about this at all?
The information is shared in guides to the school year, and options like that. But SAL is certainly a program. We don't look to put a lot of children in SAL. We want children to be gaining credits and graduating on time when we can make that work. This is for the small few for which the attendance is particularly difficult, and it's meant to support the small few.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I'd like to recognize Robert. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a quick question through you. What's the overlap between the iGrad program and the SAL membership? Thank you.
Thank you. So the iGrad program is a completely different program from SAL. They might have some similar approaches to the gaining of credits, but the iGrad program has a teacher assigned to it, and they work specifically with the students who are engaged with 360 Kids, whereas the SAL program is run out of each of our schools. Can recommend a child for SAL, so it's done at the local school level, whereas iGrad is its own specialized program, and there's a teacher for each one.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. So just to confirm, there is close communication between the individuals responsible for the iGrad program as well as SAL, because although they're obviously two distinct programs, there may be students who, correct me if I'm wrong, may transfer from one to the other quite often.
Thank you for that. Actually, they would run, a student in iGrad would run through their program with the iGrad teacher. They might be doing similar things, so they might be doing a workplace program, but it would be supervised by the iGrad teacher, so they wouldn't go through the same process as a SAL process. They would be working with their iGrad teacher.
Thank you for the clarifications. So trustees, I would like to make a recommendation that we can still approve the policy as written, and a clerical non-substantive change can be made to notate this policy's relation to Ontario Regulations 374/10, supervised alternative learning and other excusal forms from attendance at school. So meaning we cannot still pass this policy as is, but just adding that extra note. So when the policy is posted, no vote will be needed right now, so we can just pass the policy together. Is that okay? All right. So without objection, the recommended motion shall be adopted that in accordance with Board Policy 285, Board Policies, Procedures, and Supporting Documents, Working Document Policy 366, Supervised Alternative Learning, will be forwarded to the October 7th, 2025 Board meeting for final approval. Okay. Without objection, the aforementioned motion is adopted. Thank you very much, trustee colleagues, for digging into the details and seek further clarifications. All right, so moving on, it's the information item before the committee is the draft policy review schedule for 2025. I will once again like to recognize Policy Officer Daniel Roberto to present the overview for the updates. Daniel?
Thank you, Chair Chen. Through the chair, this is the 2025 draft policy review schedule, and happy to answer any questions that trustees may have. Thanks.
Thank you, Daniel. All right, so moving forward, it's the date for the next meeting. The next Policy and Bylaw Standing Committee is scheduled to be on October 7, 2025. If there are no other business, the Policy and Bylaw Standing Committee meeting is adjourned at 5:39. Thank you very much. Trustees, staff, and member of the public, we'll see you next time.